Alright guys, so part 4 of the carburetor rework process. I want to talk about a few things in this particular part of the video. There is a slush bucket which goes over the jet. Alright, goes into that little hole over there and fits over the jet, and once it's in position it slots on like so, and it has this side over here. And what this slush bucket is there for is if you're doing a lot of undulating riding where you're on slopes and moving backwards and forwards, it keeps fuel in the jet region so you don't get flat spots while riding, especially in competition. You don't want to have issues. So slush bucket's really important. Don't get rid of this if you can help it. Okay. Alright, so jet removal. I have that spanner which I was talking about in video number 3, and I'm going to try with one hand. I've pre-loosened it, so we'll take this guy out. Below the jet we have this brass washer. This is a spacer washer. Okay, it has a certain thickness. That's that guy. Obviously fuel and oil resistant, as all these other brass components are. They do tarnish a little bit or get a little bit oxidized, but it has a very specific thickness. You can see the area within which it sits is the perfect height to pull down. When the jet screws in here, it clamps everything together and keeps this emulsion tube positioned in one place. Use an original part for this. Unless you have somebody with a lathe and you measure this thickness and get them to cut one out of brass for you, don't try anything else. Right, next thing I'm going to try and do, I'm going to cant this to the side, is get my float pivot pin out, and that happens with a hammer and a punch. Now, I can't really hold the phone to do this, so I'm gonna pause here. Alright, so we used a hammer, one of these guys. It's what is that, a Stanley? Yeah, Stanley. My dad's old tools. Anywho, and we've managed to get the pin out. So with the carb facing the bike, the pin is usually has its little mushroomed head, which prevents it from going all the way through on this side. And now we can take the floats out. We're going to talk about float adjustment. As you can see, this is horrific. We're going to fix all of that. This must all be concentric. We'll talk about that in another video. And now we're going to use this tool which I made on the lathe, which has a brass end to it, and it can put the emulsion tube back from the other side. And we're going to tap on that with a hammer to get the emulsion tube, needle valve or needle jet out. And after some tapping, we have had success to a degree. There we go, and that's through. So we can remove our tool and extract the needle jet. Now the needle jet has got these 5 holes on either side. Focus. Focus. There we go. You can see those little holes, 2 rows, one on either side, 180 degrees opposed. This all gets gummed up. You can see all of this stuff. We're going to clean that. What I like to do is I like to take some Scotch-Brite, like so, and a drilling tool, your favorite battery operated tool, or whatever the case you have with a chuck. Key this up in the chuck and then spin it and clean it with Scotch-Brite. So I'm going to do that off camera and you guys will see how that works. And we also have the gasket. If you're doing a carb rebuild, probably a good idea to, as you can see, that's very buggered. That's not a good gasket anymore, and they do stick to the surfaces. Probably a good idea to replace that. If it is a recent carb rebuild that you've done and you're just opening up for cleaning and servicing purposes, you can reuse this. I wash it in thinners, dry it out with a bit of heat with a heat gun, and I reuse it. So once we've got the gasket out, this guy's going to be replaced. What you will see is this side of the gasket over here. You can see the line going vertically up there. That is this channel. There is a lip here that provides a nice seating surface for the carb when it's cinched together, for a good sealing surface. So make sure you clean all of this out thoroughly. And what we're also going to do is we're going to take this carb bowl and we're going to lap it with a surface plate, 800 grit diamond stone, to make this take all the high spots off and everything. These do warp and get over torqued by people who don't know what they're doing when they service these machines, and they warp due to expansion and contraction, and this surface becomes uneven. You want the best mating surface and sealing surface you can have. So I'm going to lap that. I'll show that in another video. And then simple things we'll take care of in video number 5.